We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country.
The people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks
Oh, be careful with this one. Oh, man.
about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires.
Good memes.
And I'll tell you, I
Good
believe
memes.
you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies.
She has to do personal attacks like this the whole time. She needs to say he has small hands. He will respond. He'll take the bait every time.
There's no reason
She needs
to
to
go.
have one of these at the end of every answer.
She's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because
just
people
one of these at the end of every answer.
Our
He'll lose his mind. It'll be over.
We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here? You're going to end up in World War III. Just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening.
This is our ex-president, by the way.
And it's a shame. As far as
my God.
rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They
Back to the rallies. He has to go back.
They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president,
psychologically
this country
destroy
doesn't have
him.
a chance of success. Not only success,
Biologist,
will
thank you
end
for the
up
50
being
subs.
Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC
She's got to
News
keep
did
hitting
reach
on
out
these.
to the
This is what
city
I'm talking
manager
about. This is the
there. He
personal.
told us
A few of
there
these,
have
and he's
been no
done.
credible
He's
reports of
over.
specific claims of pets being
If she
harmed,
calls
injured,
him,
or abused.
if Kamala Harris calls Donald Trump a loser on stage, he will call her the N-word. Guaranteed. That's my promise to you as an American tonight. That will absolutely happen.
By individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said
the people on television
to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
television. But the people on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what.
We won't.
You talk about extreme.
Oh my God, he's so triggered.
This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him.
Yes, like his vice president.
His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States.
Ooh.
His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them.
You hired them too.
One person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed viciously and violently.
He doesn't even
killed,
know
and I
what
got to know the
happened.
parents
Ask him
and
what
the family.
happened. Ask him what
They didn't
happened.
fire- they should
Who
have
killed
fired
them?
all
Ask him.
those
He doesn't know the
generals, all
answer.
those top
He doesn't know.
people,
He
because-
doesn't know what he might think the Taliban killed. Ask him. Ask him. Ask him. Ask him. Ask him.
Because that was one of the most
Ask him.
incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes
Not
than
the
any
books?
Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President
Why
Trump,
does he get the
you
does he
call
get the
this
last word on
largest
everything?
domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S.
With local
military.
police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented?
Could you imagine if she dropped the I feel like Joe's easier to listen to than this guy. I feel like he makes more sense than Donald does over here. He would lose his mind. She just needs one more of these. Just one good one like that, and it's over.
Immigrants, I know you.
Frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President
You need
Harris,
to
thank you.
insult him.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that
don't
with
think
the
he's won any
decision
of
that came
them.
down just
And
recently
he
from
lost
the Supreme Court.
a big
I'm winning
one
most
in
of them.
New York.
But those are cases, it's
Lost
called
his-
weaponization.
a lot of his civil
Never
cases as
happened
well.
in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents
wasn't
case?
even charged
They
with a
said, oh, that's
crime.
the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was
Victory?
thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're
President Trump,
fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about
Let's talk
extreme
about it.
and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate
The Constitution on day one.
the Constitution of the United
Yep.
States. That he would
Oh, he
weaponize
did say that.
the Department of Justice
He did
against
say that.
his political
Yeah.
enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him.
True.
It's up to the American people
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
We gotta
This is the
continue
one
here.
that weaponized.
No, excuse me, moderator. Shut the up. Donald Trump is speaking. He will always have the last word.
Not
Kamala
me.
needs to fight
She
for the last word
weaponized.
here.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
head,
They talk
bro.
about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump,
Russia investigation.
We do have a lot
that
to
went
Russia,
nowhere.
Russia,
We have a
Russia.
lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted
She
to
needs
ban
to start
fracking.
fighting for the
Now
last
you
word.
don't.
She can't
You want
give those up.
mandatory-
As the values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy six
There we go.
times,
Oh,
is a value that I
not
bring
the
to my
sing-
work to say we
That's
are
all I
going
wanted.
to
Thank you.
work with the private
That's
sector
all I
and
wanted.
home
Thank
builders
you.
to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term.
Those are actually
My
good
work
decisions. He's gonna say
is
that.
related to
He will respond and say those bankruptcies, those were actually really good decisions. He will say that in his response.
A friend
He'll
when
say
I
it was a
in high
good
school
business
who was
watch. He
sexually
will do
assaulted
it.
by her stepfather.
But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars. Many, many billions.
Many, many
And
billions.
when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up. She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please.
Oh, he did the thing. I'm
Does that sound
talking now.
familiar? She went out.
He wants to say it.
She went out.
Oh my
to
God.
Minnesota.
He's so
and
rattled.
wanted to
He's
let
got that N
criminals
word.
that
It's
killed
loaded
people,
up. Oh
that
my
burned
God. I
down
want to see. He's got to do it. It's got to
She went
happen.
out and raised money to
He
get
was
him
so
out of
close
jail.
to it.
She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal.
Not the transgender operations on illegals in prison. Not that. Oh God.
If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take
You just shit on it.
400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have
It's
a lot of issues
desert.
that we have to get
What else are they
to.
going to do with it, Trump?
Thank you.
What, plant a
Thank you.
forest?
We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful.
Kamala needs to get in there. Why didn't she? She needs to fight for the last word on that. What the f? How could you let him? That's funny. She should have said something there. That was a funny answer.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.